equipment for nuclear power plants, and several employees could not read. But the difference is that we didn't just give up. We went in, we did what we had to do, and found the problem, found the reason why the user, the real user, listened to every comment. I picked it up during a coffee break when the guys were talking, is where I got the first indication that that might be the problem. And the last thing that's totally different from being just a technologist, and particularly very different from working in academics, is you have to protect your IP. If you're working in academics, the first goal is publish. If you want to be an entrepreneur, the last goal is publish. All right? In fact, the universities are learning that now. A lot of the technologies that you have created during your research cannot be commercialized because you published the darn thing. As soon as it becomes public knowledge, you can't protect it with a patent. And there's a whole changeover, and I'm sure you've heard about it here with the new technology licensing office head being brought in from Utah, and Christine Poon taking over the commercialization technology office and so on. That the university needs to reverse its approach and start looking at protecting the discoveries that you are all making in order to be able to commercialize them. Because you're throwing away, the university is literally throwing away hundreds of millions of dollars because things are being published too soon. And all it takes is a very small $2,500 patent application before you give that paper presentation to protect that, to bring value to the university and also yourself if you ever want to commercialize it. As an entrepreneur, that's the first thing you think of. You see an inventor who has an idea, says, oh, third thing. You see an idea that you really like because you're looking at everything, you're talking to everybody, you're networking, you're not just sitting looking in your little focus at your little engineering calculator, and you don't use calculators anymore, do you? So anyway, you're sitting there looking at your laptop, and you hear somebody talk about a great idea, you say, oh wow, what can I use that for? You know, oh, I know a person that they could use it for this. And you say, oh, that has some real potential. And then you say, okay, how do we protect the damn thing so nobody else can do it first? All right? And then you go out and you start talking to the inventor and you figure out how to raise the money and put your team together. And the last thing is, and I put this in because an engineer actually told me this, he says the biggest focus engineers have, and the reason why they have problems being entrepreneurs is you focus on specifications, not on solutions. If somebody comes to you with you have a problem, you say, okay, we need to build a bridge. Okay, what are the specs? What's your loads? You know, what's the wind factors? Well, that's great for an engineering problem. But if you want to be an entrepreneur, you really want to ask the question of, what's this going to be used for? What's the solution? Well, what am I going to solve in somebody's life? And then you build the bridge starting from that aspect. And that's a total different approach in ways looking at anything if you're a technologist. And I have to admit, I started out, when I did it early on, I created my first company, and I did it because I thought it was a product people would use. And I put my own money into it, and another fellow joined me, we put in our own sweat equity, and it went absolutely nowhere, because nobody really needed it. Luckily, I turned it over, another fellow came along and wanted me, got an opportunity to start a contract service laboratory, and I told him about my little company. He said, okay, I'll buy it from you for $50,000, let's just get it off the table. So at least I made some money out of it. But if you just go out and think you got a great idea and you can market it, and you don't look at it from your user's point of view, and you don't look at it from the solutions perspective, you could be throwing your money down the drain. I mean, maybe anyway, but you're definitely throwing it down the drain. Now I do have more detailed stuff about starting companies and so on. I don't think that was what you were interested in today, so I'm going to stop at this point. The Kaufman Foundation report is actually available on their site if you like numbers and stats and tables and charts, and if you want to analyze that, you're welcome to. I think there's some very interesting numbers in there, but I don't think it applies to anyone in particular because you don't have to be 40 to start your first venture.
So,
So, well, let me ask a question now. Okay, now that I went through all that, how many of you might want to become entrepreneurs instead of what you were thinking of doing? Anybody? Hey, okay.
So since you said that here in the Midwest, people don't have the same understanding of new technologies as opposed to on the East or West Coast, why are you still here if you're an entrepreneur?
Why am I still here? Sometimes I wonder. No, we have a small company. I have a son that just graduated from OSU and another one from Case. So we decided to stay in the Midwest here while they were in school. But if I find an opportunity that works, I may leave. It's been an uphill battle. I've been doing this now for 15 years here in Columbus. And it's very frustrating that it's very hard to get money for real technology investment here in Ohio. But we're working with a lot of people to try to turn that around as well. I think we could be a great center for high technology because, as you know, it doesn't require huge factories. You can outsource everything, and so you can have companies here in Ohio as well as you can have them anywhere in the world. And that's what we're trying to convince the powers that be.
Same question, you spoke about Midwest mentality and the West Coast mentality. Why do you think that happens? Could it be the age of the people who actually made the decision? Could you say you're younger people there?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, here in Ohio, you've got to remember, it started out as a farming community. It was very conservative, and you have a lot of people moving in that were working around the farming community. And most of the people that have money are older, and they have that kind of farming mentality, very, very conservative. That's not to say there isn't money here. It can be found, but it's more difficult.
I mean, you have a lot of money here, but the thing is that they don't look at the PhD as a potential investment. I mean, as you said, they look more at restaurants and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, if you see at West Coast, you have so many technical companies coming there. Well,
you got to remember here in the Midwest also, there's not a lot of technology, and people just don't understand it. Okay, and when I tried to get funding for a medical device recently, we spent more time explaining the technology and the science behind it. It literally took months to explain it to the investors on multiple meetings. We went out to the West Coast and presented to some West Coast, what they call the Tech Coast Angel group out there, and they got it in a 15-minute presentation. They knew everything about it, and they said, okay, we like it, we're going to have you talk to one of our technology people from a local hospital. If he approves it, we're interested in investing in it. I mean, better part of a year here in the Midwest than a matter of one meeting in California. That's the difference. I can't explain it.
I have a question about somebody that I know in my country that is like, he has an idea as an inventor, and like he has something that he's writing a patent about it, but he's trying to get people to invest in his project, but he doesn't want to reveal all the technology inside of it, and so it's very hard for those people. From your experience, actually, I want to know what to do in those situations. Like you have a good idea and you're writing the patent and you're afraid that somebody's going to steal it or use this information. Yeah. And so it's hard for you to get the investors. So what do you recommend to those
people? Did you say he has a patent on it?
Yeah, he's still like writing the patent. Yeah, he has
Okay, he first has to file the patent in the country he's interested in. And the first patent is called a provisional patent. When you file a provisional patent, it's very inexpensive, like $2,500. But that's not published. Okay, a full patent, when it's accepted, is published and everybody gets to see the detail. The provisional patent, which is good for a year, is not published, so you still have all the secrets because nobody has to see it, but it is protected. So at that point, he can start talking to people. I would say if he talks to reputable people and has them sign a confidentiality agreement, that's added protection. But for example, venture capital people won't sign confidentiality agreements because they see technologies every day, and they can't keep everything confidential. But any other parties involved, I would say have him sign a confidentiality agreement. But once he gets a provisional patent filed, he's pretty well protected. Okay, there's always that risk, but every invention should have what we, in my company, we call the secret sauce. There has to be something that makes it unique and different, otherwise it's not valuable. All right? And hopefully that is something that he knows that isn't obvious to everybody else. And so they might get the general idea. I mean, I can talk about a protein that is a targeting agent that attaches itself to tag 52 cancer tumors. I'm not giving anything away. All right? How more specific do I have to be? I don't have to tell my investors any more than that. Now, if they want to know what the molecule is, I say put up your $1 million first. Then I'll tell you what the molecule is. Okay? He should do the same thing. I have my secret sauce. I'll tell you everything else, but I'm not going to tell you that until you sign an option agreement with me that you're going to invest. But what really counts is not what is that secret sauce, is does he have numbers to support it? Can he prove that it works? And that's also the other problem with investors is you have a great idea, they say, show me a prototype. You create a prototype, they say, okay, get me your first customer. You get the first customer, they should now show me increasing sales. Pretty soon you don't need them anymore. But that's the way they are. Okay. Thanks. And my email address is up there if you have think of any other questions you have.
You were talking a lot about software and like medical technology. What other like big markets are out there?
Okay, yeah, software is always a big one. You know, websites. Boy, people are coming up with all kinds of websites. I don't know how many you're going to make or not. You got to remember that web technologies aren't patented, so you don't have any protection. People are investing in web technologies and websites and so on. But the problem is you can be scooped any day by somebody coming up with a slightly better paradigm. Okay? I mean, any day Facebook could fall flat on its face. I talked to some high school students recently, and they had some other website that they didn't even want to talk to us parents about because that's what they were doing all their Facebook stuff, but they just wanted to keep it for them. And in 6 months or a year, every teenager can be on this new site, and Facebook is going to be out. There's nothing protected. Medical devices is really big. We're in the area called biologics, so it's large molecules, proteins, and antibodies because they're very targeted solutions for problems. And anything like Anisha's technology, for example, that she's been working on, it just, I wouldn't say just, it's for integrated circuits and decreases the power consumption, which means it extends battery life. Anybody that has an iPod and smartphone and your battery's dying now every day, you know that the smartphones are too smart for the batteries. We need to have better technology to get those battery lifetimes back up. And short of creating a new battery, her research has brought an approach which will give us more battery life and then allow us to move into even smarter phones. Okay, and from what we've talked to the people in the industry, it's worth a lot of money just to get a little improvement in the power consumption. So a lot of these things are look around at what's out there on the market, find out where the people's pain is. When you see people complaining, "Gee, I charge my cell phone every day," that's a potential problem that can be solved.
Do you have a question for a specific market, or you?
I'm just curious. It sounds like those are two big ones. I'm a mechanical engineer, so those are not like huge markets I can get into.
Okay. It's the things that is not obvious to the rest of us that is going to be your opportunity. All right. So, I mean, even look at cars. I mean, who would have thought a couple years ago cars are going to have LED screens in the back, one for each kid? You know. It's an area nobody would have thought of. Let's see, I know someone, they have it out in California. They came up with a way on your cell phone they have sensors on parking spots around the city. And they can now give you an app on your cell phone to tell you where the nearest empty parking spot is. In LA, it's a big hit. All right, who would have thought of that? Well, mechanical engineer came up with that one, I know. That's the kind of stuff. But see, the different attitude you have to have, look around you, where is the problem and where is the pain, rather than, oh, I got great technology, what can I do with
Chris, what would you suggest